Mario spin-offs are pretty cool, huh? I mean, I don't get too stupid hyped when a new one gets announced or anything like that, but I don't think there's really any other franchise that could pull off this type of thing. Having a video game universe so malleable and diverse, you could just sort of slap whatever genre you want over it and it'll just sort of work. Mario just sort of be doing his own shit and people just accept that. Anyway, like a long while back, I saw the trailer for that new Mario Party. It was like Mario Party Superstar, Super Charts, something like that. Anyway, as I was watching that new trailer, I said to myself, oh my god, it's Birdo. Feels like it's been a while since Birdo's been in one of these. And then I got to thinking, man, I wonder how many games Birdo's actually been playable in. I wonder how many spin-offs all the characters have actually been playable in. And then, after about 6 days of solid research and documentation, learning about surprising character inclusions, shocking disappearances and reappearances, and uncovering the most elusive and unheard of Mario spin-off games, I had an Excel sheet about 30 separate tabs long and knowledge no man should ever have about silly Bing Bing Wahoos going go-karting and playing hacky sack or whatever. And now, I must record my findings. But before we dive in, first we need to set some ground rules. Like, what truly is a Mario spin-off? And what is a playable Mario character? Well, first off, it has to be a Mario title. None of that Dr. Mario Diddy Kong Racing bullshit. It has to be authentic. And when it comes to big crossover games, the roster has to be like at least half Mario characters, half whatever the hell they're crossing over with. None of this realistic NBA players and like 3 Mario characters. Like, we know Wiggler ain't making it in. Also, with these crossover games, I won't be counting the non-Mario characters. And that goes for guest characters too. So, no Pac-Man from Arcade GP, no Rob the Robot from Mario Kart. And yes, even you, my beloved Sonic, Terrence Hedgehog. And finally, for the sake of my own personal sanity while making this video, no phone games, no gacha games, none of it. This video already has enough characters with one appearance in it as it is. And with that all out of the way, we still have a whopping 74 games and a whopping total of 158 characters. This video was a lot of work. Hell, I had to bust out a fucking Excel sheet for this thing just to keep track of all the characters and dates and games. So I mean, hey, a like would really be appreciated. Maybe even a subscribe if you're feeling crazy. But enough shilling. Let's see how our favorite characters stack up. Okay, so I figure we should just take it from the bottom and go all the way to the top. But starting at the bottom means we gotta start with the one-timers. Characters who show up in one spin-off and are never heard from again. So, you know how I said there are 154 characters in this video we're gonna be covering? Well, guess how many of those characters are one-timers? Go on, guess. You know what? I'm not even gonna tell you. We'll just start counting them up and you'll see how ridiculous this shit gets. I'm telling you. And fair warning, some of these one-timers are just fucking weird. Oh, and by the way, we'll be counting them up chronologically, from oldest to newest release. And the first game to kick off the one-timers, we have Wrecking Crew 98, a Mario puzzle game that no one has ever heard of. We have Eggplant Man, Gotcha Wrench, Onigiri, yes, a playable sentient ball of rice, Onanoko, Oyazi, and Dogu. See, man, I told you these one-offs are fucking weird. Okay, but we still got a lot to go, so let's not dwell on it. Next up, we have Mario Golf 64, with 4 one-timers. Charlie, Harry, Plum, and Maple. Yeah, so, human characters. If you didn't know, a lot of these earlier golfing and tennis outings, especially on the handhelds, were dedicated to following a story relating to original human characters, with sprinkles of Mario characters in the mix, rather than the Mario characters exclusively. It's an interesting side of the Mario games you don't really hear about. But anyway, majority of the one-timers are going to be these guys, so just prepare yourself for that. Yeah, hey, post-production wishful here. Turns out, keeping track of this many characters is hard, and it seems as though I forgot to include Sunny from Mario Golf 64. So, yeah, just, slide him in here. Yeah, just add him to the pile. Anyway. For Mario Tennis GBC, we have Pam, Bob, Beth, Faye, Kurt, Mark, Sammy, Sean, Spike, Eldon, Emily, Acause, and Because. For the Japanese exclusive mobile golf, we have Ken, Naple, Thread, Lisa, Bean, Rosary, Powert, and Bird. And now, believe it or not, we have the first one-timer who's actually from a Mario game. And only 33 characters in, wow. We have Shadow Mario, making his first and only playable appearance in Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. And in Mario Tennis Power Tour, we have the big one. The game with, hands down, the most one-timers. And it's all human characters you've never even fucking heard of. Here we go. Clay, Ace, Sophia, Meg, Mason, Chad, Sasha, Sylvia, Chris, Kyle, Sean, Linda, Jet, Gary, Kyoko, Mickey, Emmy, Roy, Flit, Skipper, Paula, Whisker, Elroy, Tori, Barb, Sass, Chaz, Mel, Dweezil, Minx, Willie, and Sherry. And with all that nonsense out of the way, we only have a handful of characters left. So let's just speed through this. From Super Mario Strikers, we have Super. From Super Sluggers, we have one-timers all comprised of members of the DK crew. Baby DK, Tiny Kong, King K. Rool, and Critter. From Mario Kart 7, we have Honey Queen. From Mario Arcade GPDX, we have Ice Luigi and Fire Mario. From Mario Kart 8, we have Cat Peach. From Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, we have Sprixie Princess. From Mario Tennis Aces, we have Boom Boom, Chain Chomp, and Fire Piranha Plant. With Fire Piranha Plant actually being the only kind of Piranha Plant we ever get to play as, if you don't count Petey Piranha. From Super Mario Party, we have Pom Pom. And to close it out, in Mario Golf Super Rush, we have King Babom, Chargin' Chuck, and Ninja. 86 one-timers. 86! Which still leaves us with about 74 other characters who have actually showed up for more than one of these things. Though we aren't exactly out of the worst of it yet. This list is pretty bottom-heavy. For our first character with 2 total appearances, we have Foreman Spike, who managed to appear in both Wrecking Crew 98 and Mobile Golf. In Mario Golf for the Game Boy Color, we get our first human character who actually shows up more than once on this list, Putz, who later managed to reappear in Mario Golf Advance Tour. Alex, Nina, Harry, and Kate were characters playable in both the console and portable versions of Mario Tennis. Similarly, Neil and Ella in Advance Tour were also playable in Toadstool Tour via the Game Boy Advance link cable. Toadsworth, Pianta, and Noki, all characters who first appeared in Super Mario Sunshine, made their 2 playable outings in the 2 Mario baseball games, Superstar Baseball and Super Sluggers. Paragoomba also followed this trend, though he first appeared all the way back in Super Mario Bros. 3. Funky Kong's undoubtedly most famous outing was in Mario Kart Wii as the well-known top tier, was also playable a couple years earlier in Mario Super Sluggers. Luma made their 2 appearances in 2 tennis games, Tennis Open and Tennis Aces, although they do appear with Rosalina in Mario Kart Wii, but I'm not counting that lol. Spike, the Mario enemy, not the one-timer from GBC or the Foreman, was first playable all the way in Mario Party 10, and later made it as DLC in Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. You know, it's actually a little insane how long it took the Koopalings to make an appearance in a spin-off outing, and you'd think they all make an equal amount of playable appearances, but no. Iggy, Lemmy, and Morton are the only Koopalings to make an appearance in a measly 2 games, that being Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart 8 and Deluxe also featured the debut of Baby Rosalina, another child character to slap into lightweight daycare. But wait, if in Rosalina's storybook she mentions first meeting the Lumas when she was a young girl, but by the time she's an infant she's already a magical floating space wizard princess, then like, what the fuck? No way a Mario game would have inconsistent lore, no way. Now moving on to characters who have had appearances, and count 'em, 1, 2, 3. 3 appearances. Kicking it off, we have one of the OGs, first appearing in the game to start it all, Super Mario Kart. We have Donkey Kong Jr. Honestly, it's a real shame. I wish he still kept up appearances. After his debut, he faded out pretty quick, only managing a measly 2 tennis game appearances after. Probably due to the fact that by that time there was a newer, cooler, and frankly, much more interesting player 2 to fill Junior's old slot. Still, shame nonetheless. Did you get comfortable with the actual Mario characters? Well, too bad! Back to talking about some golf and tennis humans. At first I thought Sherry, Joe, and Azalea all appeared in only 2 games. Their first appearances in Golf GBC, and then one last appearance in Advanced Tour. But due to some transfer pack shenanigans, they're also playable in the N64 version of Mario Golf. And now onto 3 more human characters. Grace, Tiny, and Gene Yuss all made their first appearances in Mario Golf for the Game Boy Color, then Mobile Golf, and then finally Advanced Tour. Honestly surprised to see Fly Guy this high, even if he is a bit boosted by the fact he was in Power Tennis, since that got a Wii port and everything. But apparently this guy was in Mario Hoops 3-on-3 of all games. See, I told you this list would be at least mildly interesting. Speaking of Hoops 3-on-3, also a game Dixie Kong is in, I guess? As well as the baseball games? Cool. Speaking of baseball, Goomba, the Mario enemy of all time, is only playable in 3 measly games. The 2 baseball games, along with a single party game appearance in Super Mario Party. Like, I get it. He's just a Goomba, but like, he's the Mario enemy. He's a Goomba. Just let me play as Goomba. Baby Daisy was, well, a Mario Kart baby, but also made it into Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe, for what that's worth. Gold Mario was first brought in Mario Arcade GPDX, then was playable in Golf World Tour, and then was brought back again for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Tanuki Mario, similar to Gold Mario, also first appeared in Arcade GPDX and made a playable appearance in 8 Deluxe. The only difference being that Tanuki Mario was actually playable in the base game of Mario Kart 8. And I think fans of Mario Kart 8 are gonna be real happy, cause we got a fan favorite who originated from this very title, Pink Gold Peach. One of Mario Kart's most beloved and anticipated character additions for sure. Yeah, they appeared in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, sure, but dude, I had no idea they put her in Sports Superstars. Like, why? Nabbit made his appearances in Super Mario Golf World Tour, as well as both the 3DS and Wii U versions of Mario and Sonic at the Rio Olympics. And finally, our most recent character with 3 appearances, Pauline. First debuting in Tennis Aces, then quickly moving on to Golf Super Rush, and even the most recent game at the time of writing, Mario Strikers Battle League. You know, it's crazy how it's taken Goomba the entire history of the fucking Mario franchise to get 3 appearances, while it only took Pauline from Odyssey till now to get the same amount. Like, damn. Now, moving on to the 4-timers, and this first one's a little bit sad. We have the last of the human characters, Kid. And I know I've basically just been dumping on these guys the whole time, but I don't know, I kind of like Kid. Being basically the face of all of Nintendo's weirdo human Mario characters and all that. And while we're on the topic of oddball original characters, that brings us to our next 4-timer, Koopa Kid. Who the fuck is Koopa Kid? Now, a bit of a history lesson. In a pre-Mario Sunshine world, when Bowser Jr. was just a twinkle in his father's eye, Nintendo needed to give Bowser some shithead goons to do his dirty work in the Party series. Cause, like, he's the king of the Koopas, baby. He's not gonna do all the dirty work. And since the actual Mario bad guys were off hosting battles to the death and running the banks, they needed to be their own special characters, which led to the creation of the Koopa Kids in Mario Party 1, which they appeared in every party game up until Mario Party 7, before they were fizzled out. But they were only actually playable in Mario Parties 5 and 6. So, where do these 2 other mysterious appearances come from that round us up to 4? Japanese exclusive catcher games. May I introduce you to Mario no Kokoro Parties 1 and 2, weird half-catcher, half-video games developed by Capcom, both built off of Mario Parties 5 and 6, and despite being arcade games, they in fact both have minigames and character select screens. So yes, you can play as the Koopa Kids in both of these games. Jeez, I didn't think I'd be so tangential talking about the Koopa Kids of all characters. Anyway, Montgomery Mole made his debut in the baseball titles, which is not a surprise at this point. Seems like everyone and their grandma was in the baseball games, apparently. But they also managed to claw their way into both Strikers and Super Mario Party. Blooper actually only wound up showing up in the second baseball title. He surprisingly found his way back into other playable appearances, with Mario Party 8, Mario Tennis Aces, and Kokoro no Catcher, the Japanese exclusive spin-off of the Kokoro no Party series. This arcade game being specifically built off of Mario Party 8. Funnily enough, there is a Kokoro no Catcher 2, which was also built off of 8, but only allowed you to play as Mario, so it will not be considered for this list. Lakitu, who has been a recurring character in the karting series, helping to fish the player out of precarious pits and other similar unfortunate tumbles into water or lava, fittingly has only been playable in the karting games, keeping a pretty good streak starting from 7 all the way to 8 Deluxe. And finally, Roy, who is the only outlier of the Koopalings, the rest being split up into either 2 or 5 playable appearances. He stands on his own, only being in 4, from Mario Kart 8 to Rio Olympics 3DS and Wii U, and finally 8 Deluxe. And speaking of those aforementioned Koopalings, they are the only characters who make a total of 5 appearances. Larry, Ludwig, and Wendy. Now, if I'm being honest, Wendy and Ludwig I get, right? Wendy is the token girl Koopaling, and Ludwig is just objectively kind of the coolest one. But Larry? If Milk and Toast were a Mario sub-boss? It should have been Roy, if you ask me. Anyway, they have pretty much the same lineup as the other Koopalings, but the one appearance that pushes them over the edge is a surprise playable outing in Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Moving on to the 6-timers, we have Wiggler, the giant stupid-ass caterpillar who has somehow appeared more times than fucking Goomba, was first playable in Mario Power Tennis, and of course, playable in the Wii port, who then went on to show up surprisingly only in Super Sluggers, and made 3 more appearances in Mario Kart 7, Golf Super Rush, and Wave 2 DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Honestly, a pretty varied portfolio for an Octoped. Impressive. Kamek, Magic Koopa, whatever you want to call him, was originally going to be in Mario Kart 64 until he was scrapped in favor of DK. which honestly was a good call. He appears in both the baseball games and is later playable in Mario Party 9, and then went on to appear in a Mario Golf World Tour, Tennis Aces, and Wave 2 DLC of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now we have King Boo, making his first playable appearance in Double Dash as Petey Piranha's partner, later showing up in both baseballs. God, those baseball guys ought to start a fucking union or a country club or something with how many times I'm going to have to say both baseballs. Mario Kart Wii, Arcade GP DX, and 8 Deluxe Triple Ballin'. And to finally cap off the 6-timers, we have Baby Peach. First appeared in Mario Kart Wii, and later made appearances in Sluggers, Tennis Open, Arcade GP DX, and finally, Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe. On to 7-timers, with yet another baby. We have Baby Luigi. First appearing in Mario Kart Double Dash as Baby Mario's partner, naturally. Then showing up in both baseballs, Mario Kart Wii, 8 and 8 Deluxe, and Mario Sports Superstars. And up next, we have Metal Mario, a character who, despite starting off as just Mario with a power-up, has always been presented as this enigmatic, separate sort of entity, with that characterization being first shown in Smash 64's Classic Mode, where he's actually a special mini-boss with his own exclusive stage. Anyway, in the realm of Mario spin-offs, he got his first playable appearance all the way back in N64 Mario Golf. And it wouldn't be until a whole 12 years later he was playable again in Mario Kart 7, after which he sort of exploded in popularity a bit, starting off by being a secret character in Mario Tennis Open through a secret hidden QR code main menu thing. Then getting playable spots in Arcade GP DX, Mario Kart 8, and 8 Deluxe, and for some reason Mario Sports Superstars. Those poor horses. Hammer Brother is last off for the 7-timers, making his first appearance in the first as well as, you guessed it, second baseball games. But, for the first time on this list, also showing up in both soccer titles, Strikers and Strikers Charged. Then appearing in Mario Party 8 and, by extension, Mario Fushigi no Koro Koro Catcher. And then finally, Super Mario Party. Moving on to 8-timers, we have... We don't actually have anybody. Cool. 9-timers, though, we actually do have, starting with Petey Piranha. And can I just say, what a weird character to gain traction in the Mario franchise. This giant, fat, vomit-spewing weirdo somehow captured the attention of someone somewhere who worked on these games, as he appeared 2 times within the same year to start out, in Toadstool Tour and Mario Kart Double Dash, then continued to jump a bunch of genres in both versions of Power Tennis, Superstar Baseball, Mario Strikers Charged, Super Sluggers, then waiting a couple years to reappear in games as recent as Tennis Aces and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A weird resume for a weird guy, I suppose. Up next, we have arguably one of the coolest Mario designs of all time, Dry Bowser. First appearing in Mario Kart Wii, it wouldn't be until Mario Tennis Open where this guy would really start to take off, after which appearing in at least one game per year, with this streak consisting of Arcade GP DX, Kart 8, Tennis Ultra Smash, both Rio Olympic Games, 8 Deluxe, and then lastly, Tennis Aces. The last of our 9-timers is Paracoopa, a Koopa Troopa with a para wings. Anyway, we have a first appearance all the way back in Mario Tennis, dang, then in Double Dash, both versions of Power Tennis, both baseballs, Mario Hoops 3-on-3, Golf World Tour, and then lastly, Mario Tennis Aces. And with that done, we've finally done it. We are out of the 2 to 9 appearances range for characters. Only took us about 50 of them, but here we are. Now, let's start looking at some characters who actually put some substantial time into these games. Going straight to 12 appearances, we have Baby Mario, who, honestly, I'm surprised both by how high and how low he is on this list. I mean, it feels like you can't look at a Mario spin-off without one of those little infants rearing their undeveloped heads. But at the same time, it's Baby Mario. Who keeps putting him in all these games? Anyway, he started off strong in the N64 era, in games like Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, and Tennis GBC. Then appeared later in games like Mario Kart Double Dash, both Baseballs, Mario Kart Wii, Mario Tennis Open, Mario Arcade GPDX, Mario Sports Superstars, and then finally, Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe. Now, with the formatting here getting a bit cluttered, and the characters getting so many appearances at this point, we're going to cover character appearances in large swaths rather than just by purely chronological order. Up next at 13 playable appearances, we have Dry Bones. He started off as one of the baseball boys, naturally appearing in both of them, as well as other miscellaneous games like Strikers Charged, and weirdly enough, even scored 2 Olympic outings in both versions of Rio Olympics. But where he really took off were his party and karting appearances, appearing in both Mario Party 7, 8, and of course Fushigi no Koro Koro, and Super Mario Party. And on the karting side, making it into DS, Wii, and 8 Deluxe, and very, very recently even sneaking 1 tennis appearance in Mario Tennis Aces. With 14 playable appearances, we have Shy Guy, a character who's been around the spin-off series relatively early with Mario Tennis, showing up in both versions of Power Tennis after. Aside from that, getting a lot of appearances in the karting series, although with his only party game appearance being in Mario Party 9, yikes. But still managing to get a good handful of miscellaneous stuff. And even netting himself a singular golf appearance in Golf Super Rush. Skipping all the way to 16 appearances, we have Toadette, a character created specifically for the spin-off series. Yes, much like God created Eve to help soothe Adam's loneliness, Junji Mori created Toadette because Toad needed a partner in the game Mario Kart Double Dash. And ever since her debut, she's been slowly building herself up to pretty much be a mainstay of not just the spin-off world, but the entire Mario franchise, getting a decent amount of racing appearances afterwards, as well as the usual baseball treatment. And some golfing here and there. But where she really blew up were the party games, making it in parties 6, 7, 8, Catcher, 10, and Star Rush. And with getting a singular tennis appearance, as well as somehow even getting an Olympic one, she's the first character on this list to pretty much do it all. Now at 19 appearances, we actually have a tie, with Rosalina and Koopa Troopa. Starting with Koopa Troopa, he first appeared all the way back in the 2 OGs, Super Mario Kart and Mario's Tennis for the Virtual Boy, continuing to make a decent amount of tennis appearances, but really getting playable spots in the racing games. Other than that though, he makes a good amount of miscellaneous appearances as well as a handful of other party and golfing showings. No Olympic ones, though. Now onto Rosalina, though. The one spin-off character who is honestly only held back by just how late she actually debuted. The first spin-off she cropped up in was Mario Kart Wii, after which they seemed to take it slow with spin-off appearances, only being regulated to racing ones, appearing a bit later in Mario Kart 7 and GPDX. Though it would only take one more racing appearance in Mario Kart 8 to really set her off. Because after Mario Kart 8 is when they started just using her in everything, going all the way from that to Mario Strikers Battle League, basically without missing a single spin-off appearance. The only 3 she wound up missing in the streak, weirdly enough, being all arcade titles. Arcade Olympic Games, Tokyo Arcade, and Arcade GP VR. Guess arcades just don't like her that much for some weird reason. Moving fast, we're at the 20 appearances range. Starting off with Diddy Kong at 21 appearances. Funnily enough, for being such a big player on the Super Nintendo, it wouldn't be until the GameCube era that good old Diddy got his first appearance. After that first tennis appearance, though, he seems to be just a little bit all over the place, being playable in a decent amount of games in each and every category, though with the biggest notably being the miscellaneous and Olympic categories. So it seems he's much more of an all-around type of guy, which is neat, fits into the character in a way, although that's probably completely unintentional. For real though, put this guy in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, come on. And now, finally, we're at the character that started me making this video in the first place. At 22 appearances, we have Birdo. And well, as it turns out, Birdo has made a pretty good amount of appearances. First appearing in Mario Tennis, it seems she was most popular near the late GameCube, early Wii era, being used a lot for party and miscellaneous games, and then faded out for the most part. But lately has been getting a resurgence in the Switch era. As of writing this video, getting 2 whole other games to feature in, aside from the aforementioned Mario Party Superstars. And to cap off the 20 appearances range at 24 total playable appearances, and the highest standard Mario enemy on this list, we have Boo. He started out, just like Birdo, in Mario Tennis, but unlike Birdo, it seems he really stuck with it, becoming somewhat of a tennis mainstay. But funnily enough, it's not even the series he appears in most. That would be the party games. You know, for being one of the shyer Mario enemies, this guy sure does love to fucking party. Not a single racing game to his name, though. But I guess that makes sense, as King Boo kind of already fills that area. Moving on to our only character in the 30s, we have Bowser Jr. With a starting role in Toadstool Tour, Bowser Jr.'s resume seems to be pretty modest, with 3 to 4-ish roles in each category, sure, but nothing really crazy. That is, until you get to the Olympic Games. Because as it turns out, Bowser Jr. is a goddamn Olympic champion, showing up in 12 of the things. He seemed to get most used in the early Wii era, but since has always had a steady stream of game appearances that don't look to stop anytime soon. Moving on to the 40s, at 43 appearances, we have Toad. Now, honestly, I wasn't sure where Toad was gonna rank, since while he is a super prominent Mario character, in the context of Mario spin-offs, Toads are usually shown to be the guys running the show, organizing events and selling you stars. But, as it turns out, Toads actually had quite a lot. Another character in the 2 to start it all, Super Mario Kart and Mario's Tennis, and while he did stick around for a couple of tennis games, he really stuck to the karting series. And it's surprising just to see how many party games the guy's been playable in, since I always thought that's where Toad was depicted as more of a sideline character than anything else, and here, it's his most popular genre. The stigma was true, however, for the Olympic Games, only getting 2, and for some reason only being playable in the Wii U version of Rio Olympics. He was notably absent in the N64 era of spin-offs, but other than that, has been prevalent on every other system. And capping off the 40s at 47 appearances, we have the King of the Koopas himself, Bowser. Now, similar to Toad, Bowser is a character who had the potential to also be heavily sidelined in the spin-off games. I mean, he's the bad guy, the evil chaotic force who flies in without warning and steals your stars, sabotages your golfing tournaments, and drinks all your expensive champagne like an asshole. And to an extent, I was right. Being so famously an evil external force in these games doesn't often lead you to being playable in them, so naturally he doesn't get much in both the party and golfing games. But you see, instead of being like Toad and giving a surprising amount of appearances despite his status, he just decided to go super hard into everything else. Showing up for every karting game, except one, every tennis game, except one, and literally every single available Olympic game. Not to mention some miscellaneous games for good measure. His playable prominence was also during that sacred early to mid Wii era, but his playable turnouts have always been more or less steady. Now, in the last stretch of our 74 game lineup, we have the 50s range of appearances, starting with Donkey Kong at 53 total appearances. First appeared playable in Mario Kart 64, if you recall, stealing that spot from Kamek. A decision that has seemed to pay off, as he's appeared in almost every karting game. He's also appeared in almost every tennis game, as well as almost every miscellaneous title, but didn't really show up too much in the golf games. Though taking a look at the party games, funnily enough, DK actually suffers, to a lesser extent obviously, the same stigma Bowser did in the party games. You see, if you didn't know, in Mario Party 5 onward, they decided to switch DK from just a basic playable guy to instead act as a sort of anti-Bowser, regularly giving lucky players chances to get ahead, and all around just kinda taking every opportunity he could to clobber the shit out of poor Bowser. So his party appearances end up being a bit lacking, missing out on a good chunk of the GameCube to Wii era party games, and not returning to be playable till Mario Party 10. And as if Donkey Kong wasn't already a character filled with weird setbacks, he didn't appear in the first two Olympic games, though did appear in every single one from Winter Olympics onward. Up next, we have the queen of spin-off games, Daisy, at 54 appearances. Now, unlike the characters previously, who were simply held back by the roles they had to play in the games themselves, these next three are simply held back by just how late they debuted. And that debut for Daisy was Mario Tennis, after which she was an instant star, showing up in pretty much every mainline console spin-off from there on out. But unlike her instant stardom on the console front, it seems that the handheld games of the Game Boy Color to Advance era were a little more hesitant to use her, as she missed out on games like Golf GBC, Super Circuit, and Advance Tour. But after that little hitch, she was a solidified mainstay. In fact, she went from Mario Party 7 on the GameCube all the way to now, Mario Strikers Battle League, a 46 game lineup, only missing out on 2 total games. Oh, and I should mention she's playable in every single Olympic game. On to the final of the 50s range, we have the self-described king of the spin-offs, Waluigi. Similar to Daisy, he also first graced both the spin-off world and the Mario franchise as a whole in Mario Tennis, created specifically as a partner for Wario and a rival to Luigi. Though in this first game, Luigi could honestly give less of a fuck and probably hasn't even given 1 cent about this big purple idiot. He would be seen as a tennis mainstay, though, appearing in every single one aside from the ones before his creation, of course. Unlike Daisy, however, they weren't so reserved with him on the handheld side, getting into some games she didn't, like Tennis GBC and Advanced Tour. Though, they do both share a similar benchmark, going from Mario Party 7 to now while only missing out on 2 games. The only differences being Waluigi got into Mario Kart GP 2 over Daisy, and the only thing breaking his almost perfect streak would be Arcade GP VR, which neither of them were in, and weirdly enough, Mario Kart 7. Once again, he's another character to show up in all Olympic games, but at this point, that goes without saying. We've arrived now not only at the 60s, but our final 5 characters. At 66 total appearances, we have Wario. Wario is the most well-off of these late debuter characters, though not being able to make it as early as Super Mario Kart, as his debut title, Super Mario Land 2, happened to be released the same year. His entrance to the Super Mario spin-off series was the racing game immediately after that, Mario Kart 64, and he still managed to snag himself at least one Super Nintendo racing game appearance in Bun Bun Mario Excitebike a year later, and has appeared in every single racing game since, aside from GPVR. Wario also almost appeared in every single golf game, but sadly missed out on mobile golf, as well as almost appearing in every single party game, only just missing out on Mario Party Advanced. He only missed out on 2 tennis games, Mario's Tennis on the Virtual Boy and Power Tennis, and in the MISC category, he shows up in everything you'd expect, like the baseball and soccer games, but didn't quite make it to the more niche stuff, like the puzzle games. But he did make it for every single Olympic game. Wow. Why are the titles to all these games so goddamn long? And now we are here. Not only at the 70s range, not just the Final Four, but the Big Four. Characters who are basically constants of the Mario spin-off franchise, with there even being certain games whose rosters only consist of these 4. And to start with, we have Yoshi at 70 total appearances. With his first appearance being in Super Mario Kart, he would pop up in just about every single other karting game, all except Bun Bun Excitebike, opting to have Wario and Toad take his place. This trend of missing out on just one would follow him for his other categories, as he wasn't present for Wrecking Crew 98 in the MISC category, missed out on Golf GBC, though he did make it in the actual game as a non-playable character. And to cap it off, a strange missing appearance in Mario Tennis Power Tour. Other than that though, he made perfect attendance in the Olympic Games, not much of a shocker there, but as a first, also made perfect attendance in the party games, being playable in every single one. On to 73 appearances, we have Princess Peach. The third out of our big 4, and with good reason. I mean, she's Princess fucking Peach. Like, it's not like you can't have her playable in every single Mario spin-off, right? Except she wasn't in every single Mario spin-off. So the question lies in, what did she miss? And why? Mario Golf for the Game Boy Color, which, weirdly enough, only had 3 actual Mario characters playable, Mario, Luigi, and Wario in it, the rest being human originals. Funnily enough, she is in the actual game as an opponent, but much like Yoshi and other Nintendo characters in that game, she is simply an enemy in the story mode, not a playable character. But other than that one golfing exception, yeah, perfect attendance all around. For racing, miscellaneous, tennis, Olympic, and party. And fittingly, at our number 2 slot, we have probably the world's most famous player 2, Luigi, at 73 total appearances? What? I mean, it's Mario and Luigi. It's a package deal. He's like the world's most famous player 2. How the hell could you not have a spin-off without Luigi playable in it? Well, apparently, the one game he missed out on was mobile golf. And taking a look at the roster, it's pretty typical. I mean, you got the big 4, Mario, Yoshi, Peach, Foreman Spike. Huh. That sucks. Anyway, with all that weirdness aside, yeah, aside from that, same deal as Peach. Perfect record all around. Other than a Japanese exclusive handheld golfing game, Luigi is playable in every single other spin-off. And of course, last but not least, I mean, who were you expecting? At a whopping 74 appearances across 74 games, it's Super Mario. Like, come on. Was it ever in any doubt that this guy would be at the top? I mean, come on. It's practically advertised on the damn box that he's gonna be there. I don't even have anything to say. I mean, Mario is playable in every single Mario spin-off. Wowie. Though, with it all laid out like this, we can really see how many games really are in each spin-off category, which is pretty neat. So, those were the rankings. This video was such a pain in the ass to put together, but hey, hopefully you learned something. Or at least found it mildly interesting. Oh, and I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video, super huge thanks to the people over at the Super Mario Wiki. This video would not have been possible without the work of the fine folks over there, so yeah, check it out if you haven't. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for you today, so thanks for watching. Bye.